This video is a quick web tour of this wonderful page I found from Smashing Magazine. And by the way, that's a great website to look at for design ideas, and there's tons of good information on this site. This particular page is written by a designer who works in InDesign every day, full-time, and she has kindly written down ideas and tips for the beginning user that outline things that she wishes that she had known when she was starting out. So it's a benefit to all of us as we are learning and growing in InDesign. And this was written a couple of years ago, but the information is still very current and very good. So I'm going to quickly go through the offerings on this page and give you the opportunity to explore it on your own and bookmark the site perhaps if you want to explore and get a reminder and a refresher on certain things that you'll be using. Some of these are things you will use in your own project this quarter, this course, or some will be more advanced. The first one you have already seen from me in an earlier video about setting up your InDesign document for the kayaking brochure, and that is margins and bleeds. Now you'll notice in this example here for the new document window that the units and increments are set to millimeters. She is not using inches here. We prefer, and I think it's probably best for you all to stick to the inches unit because we're more familiar with that. And again, that can be changed very easily in your InDesign preferences. So she's using millimeters here, but she does mention something that I mentioned earlier, the bleed. She recommends 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters, and I used the 1/8 of an inch setting, which is 0.125 inches. So the bleed is set down here, and it just gives you an option for setting images away from the printed page if you want to bleed things off. Now, master pages is something that you're not going to be using in your brochure for this course, but if you go on to a more advanced InDesign or a layout course, you will probably be encountering master pages. They're excellent. It's an excellent feature of InDesign which allows you to create a master page and put things on it that you want repeated in the exact same position on every page in your document. So it's really very handy to understand how they work and to work with them. You can set up multiple master pages, and then you can assign them to specific pages in your document. Okay, so under the Pages menu, you'll see an icon for master pages, and you open up a master page, and then you put your information, say like a date, if it was a magazine, or the name of a magazine, or something that you want repeated. It will automatically appear in the same position and in the same font and color and placement that you set up here. So it's a really good thing to get to know and to become comfortable with, particularly if you're working in a large multi-page document. Now, frames is something that, again, you will be working with. The minute you start in InDesign, you're working with frames because it's a frame-based application. You set all of your content in frames. You have two different kinds, both text and image. If you make a text box or a text frame, you put your text in it. You can copy it, or you can type right into the text frame. If you import a picture, place an image, it comes in an image frame, and the icon is that rectangle with the X through it. You'll notice a rectangle below it on the toolbar without an X in it, and that's if you just want to draw a rectangle. So they are slightly different, but remember that anything you bring onto an InDesign page needs to be in a specific kind of frame. It goes through talking about how to resize content in a frame. Here's a handy tip. If you have multiple objects stacked on top of each other and you're trying to select a certain one, you can hold your Command key down on the Mac or the Control on the PC and then click through to get the one that you want. And oftentimes that happens. You have a lot of things stacked one on top of another. You can work in layers, by the way, in InDesign if you want to. It uses layers, but sometimes you can work just on one layer and get the same effect. So that tip is good if you're working on one layer with a lot of options, a lot of objects on the page. Here's a section that talks about image formats. Generally, we use JPEGs for our images, but InDesign does recognize different picture formats. And remember that you want to save all of your images in CMYK color mode in Photoshop. And here's a reminder about good resolution. Information about importing Photoshop files, should you care to, PSD files, layered Photoshop files, should you want to. Information for you here. Transparency flattening presets is a little more advanced. This is if you are making PDF files and you have transparent objects on your page. This is how to set it up as you're saving your PDF and selecting the right options for that. A little more advanced, you may not need to use it. Here's a discussion of copying and pasting and recommendations from Lisa, the author, as to the best way to work with that. She generally doesn't recommend it. There's a better way to treat your imagery, your assets as we call them. Here's information about color. Again, the CMYK color space is the one to use for printed documents, and we generally stick to CMYK if we're working in InDesign. For print anyway. Here's something you may encounter, the term rich black. This is a printing term which means not just a plain 100% K black, but instead a mixed CMYK formula for what's called a rich black. It's 40%, or rather 40 units of cyan, 40 units of magenta, 30 of yellow, and 100 of black. It's actually a richer, darker, deeper black than the 100% K, and it doesn't fade in the same way when printed. There are times when you can use rich black, and there are times when just the plain process 100% black is okay. In fact, they recommend that for text. For your project, for this course, don't worry about it, but just be aware that it is something that is used in the printing industry. Paragraph and character styles is more advanced. It's something that, again, you don't need to worry about this for this course, but if you go forward and get more advanced in InDesign, there are ways that you can set up special styles for paragraphs, and if you have multiple pages or hundreds of pages in a document, you can select your paragraphs and assign them to specific styles, and that ensures consistency in your font, in your spacing, in your leading and sizing, and it's a great way to save time rather than having to comb through hundreds of pages to make sure that everything is consistent. Special characters and glyphs, which go together, are parts of fonts that you can use if you need, say, like an accented character, or you need a special little dingbat or image. Some fonts come with glyphs that have been designed to go with the typeface, and they are worth exploring so that you can get access to some of these should you need them. And there's more information online about how to get to these and how to find out about them. And she shows us the edit menu here where you can go and get different special characters and work with glyphs. Use Find Change is an advanced mode that lets you search through a multi-page document to find instances of, say, a word that you need to change. And this again is a great time saver if you have a long document and you need to change something throughout. It's kind of like a spell check, but it finds words and phrases and lets you change them globally, so it's a big time saver. This is something that I mentioned in an earlier video, and it's really very simple. It's nothing more than the W key, which toggles between working mode and preview mode, and it's great because you can quickly see how something would look like if it were printed, and it's great. And then you go back to toggle it again, and you go back to your working mode that shows the guides and things like that. A data import feature, again, is an advanced feature. If you had, say, a client who had an Excel spreadsheet and wanted it imported into an InDesign page, this is how you would get around how to use that. You probably won't encounter it in your courses, but it's good to know that it's there should you ever need to. And lastly, she wraps up by talking about learn by doing and giving you other sites to go to and links to help you out as you continue with InDesign. So this is a great resource. I recommend that you bookmark this site and visit it as a reminder of some of the things that you can do. And it's a really nice overview, I think, of a professional InDesign layout person's view of things that are good to know as you're starting out. So hopefully it's helpful, and hopefully it will guide you as you continue your work with wonderful InDesign. Thanks. Good luck.